reporting procedure?
No, sir. No, Judge.
Okay. Number 68 indicates hardship. Okay, so we're going to allow the attorneys to ask you a few questions. I'd ask you to speak up in a strong voice.
Yes, sir.
State.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yesterday you indicated that service on the jury for 3 weeks would present a hardship. Could you explain for us, please?
I have travel for the 2nd and 16th, the 2 Fridays. And also my work, I'm kind of in a unique position where it's going to put a weird burden on me where I'm going to have to work after hours.
Okay, tell me about the travel. Is that personal or work related?
Personal.
Okay. Are those, the travel is what type of travel? I mean, is it is it automobile, is it flight, or?
Automobile.
Okay. Can you tell us more about the trips, what the purpose and what's
it's family, meeting with family.
Okay.
Yeah, personal.
And the work what type of work you do, sir?
I'm a network engineer.
Okay. IT?
Mm-hmm.
And for what type of business or concern?
It's a web hosting services.
All right. Are there other employees that can perform your type of responsibilities?
No, that's the bit of the burden, sir. Like for instance, last night I was up to about 2 catching up for the stuff I missed yesterday. So, regardless of whether I'm there or not, I have to maintain.
So I take it from what you haven't told us that there is not a financial burden as a result of service.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
No.
All right. You would have to.
I'd have to verify my employer, but.
Okay. How large a company is it that you work for?
My personal location here is like 15 to 20 employees.
Okay. If you were selected as a juror, which would cause you to miss the 2 personal trips and place work burdens on your shoulders, obviously, would you be able to give the evidence in the case your undivided attention and focus?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No motion, Judge, for the defendants. No motion. Number 69 indicates hardship. That's good. So we're going to allow the attorneys to ask you a few questions, okay?
Yes, sir.
I'd ask you to speak up in a strong voice.
Yes, sir.
State.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yesterday you indicated that service on the jury may present some type of hardship for you.
Yes, sir. Towards the end of the month of May, on the 22nd. Vacation leaving on the 22nd to Blue Ridge, Georgia, till Monday the 26th. Vacation's already paid for. I know it's towards the end of the 3 weeks, as the judge said, but I threw that in there as a possibility.
I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Your Honor, I think the 3 weeks we were talking about including this week of jury selection.
Okay, maybe it was, if that's the case, then it's at the end, 22nd to the 26th.
May I have a moment with counsel? So I anticipate that barring extremely unforeseen, they should be well done with the case by the 22nd.
Sir?
That would be the fourth week. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir, we're going to allow the attorneys to ask you a few questions. Please respond in a good, strong voice.
Okay.
Stay.
Thank you. Sir, yesterday you indicated that service on the jury for 3 weeks would cause you a hardship. Would you explain for us, please?
Yes. My youngest daughter, she goes to a special needs school in Tennessee. She graduates on the 10th. I go up there a couple days in advance to pack up her stuff to bring her home.
Okay. And how old is your daughter?
18.
Okay. And you're solely responsible for the move?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. You also indicated that you've been exposed to some type of pretrial publicity?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell us what information you've heard in the news about this case.
I work for Bright House. I'm a service technician, so I go into people's homes and fix their televisions, their internet. So when this happened, it was conversation between me and different, people that I had gone into their homes.
Okay. Did you actually see public broadcasts, news of the events?
Yes, sir, because I have to make sure that their TVs and internets are working. Yes.
Do you recall the summary of the case that the judge gave you yesterday when he read it to the whole panel?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you recall from what you saw on the news about the case.
Okay. Apparently the kids were doing their homework and she said to do something, there was a or I guess they didn't do what she asked or something like that, and that's when it happened.
Okay, did you recall seeing any video or photographic images of the defendant?
Yes.
What do you recall about that?
Her walking into, I guess, the jail or whatever.
Did you form any impressions or opinions concerning Ms. Schenecker or her guilt as a result of what you saw?
Yes.
Okay. Is that a fixed or definite opinion, or is that something that you just formed at the time and it didn't stick with you?
No, it still stuck with me.
Okay. The Constitution affords Ms. Schenecker the presumption of innocence, meaning as a start, she is innocent of what she's charged with, and that presumption stays with her until the state of Florida, by evidence and testimony in court, proves her guilt beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt.
Number 71, indicates knowledge of hardship.
Told us by raising your hand or standing up that you had some type of hardship. Were you selected, were you to be selected to serve as a juror for the next 3 weeks? Can you tell us about that?
It's just work related, and the projects that I'm involved right now, and it would be a difficulty for me to fulfill my obligations.
Okay. You're very soft-spoken, ma'am. I left had to take everything that's spoke, so I heard an effort to speak loud. Give it. Minimize with financial responsibility account. Your responsibility. Are there others within the organization? To help responsibilities in folks of your
Yeah.
this person is an ideal. And you were selected. Would you be able to, in case you're right? You also said yesterday that you have been exposed to, learn some other information about this case from outside of court. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was that just in talking with people, or was that from the media?
No, that was from past media.
Okay. Now, the incident occurred in 2011. Would what you saw
Closer to the incident. Primarily on television.
okay. Did you hear really town?
Yes.
Who is to anything you can remember here different than what you felt? More that made you really bad statement.
It was just more in the lines of details.
Okay, and tell me all the details that you can remember, if you could.
If I recall correctly, that one victim on the computer.
Did you have video?
The video, seeing all the time.
Do you recall that video? What was happening?
This was defendant away from
Any conclusions or impressions from what you saw in the video?
personally.
Okay. Our Constitution, our law says that any person that's charged with a crime is presumed innocent of those charges until and unless the government, the state of Florida, proves the guilt of the defendant by evidence in court beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. When what that requires is at the beginning of the case that the defendant you have seen on media. You accept that is innocent until proven guilty beyond presumption. Could you do that?
Yes.
Is there anything about what you saw or were exposed to from the media that you think would prevent you from being a fair and impartial juror?
No.
Do you have any type of fixed or definite opinion as to whether Ms. Schenecker, as she sits before you, is guilty or innocent of these charges?
I only know what I've read.
Okay. Well, I guess what I want to ask you is, we're human beings and we read and expose something and it makes us think, and which is allowed, of course. But any impressions or opinions that you've gained from what you've been exposed to and what you know from the media, is that going to affect your ability to serve as a fair and impartial juror for the defendant and for the state?
No.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Just a moment, I was going to ask a few questions.
Good afternoon, good morning. I want to make sure I understand what you were saying. I don't want to try to presume that I understand what you're saying. Do you have a fixed impression or opinion right now as to the guilt or innocence of Ms. Schenecker as we speak right now?
From what I saw on the news, I was under the impression that she was present when the crimes occurred.
Or do you have a fixed impression of guilt or innocence based on what you saw on the news? It's okay if you do. I mean, this would be the time to share that with us. I'm just asking for what your thoughts are.
Based on that, it would appear to be so.
And you have an impression that she is guilty or innocent?
Guilty.
And if you have that impression, is that one that you hold to be a rather strong impression inside your mind based on what you've seen or heard at this point?
Yes.
And the next question is, because people get impressions, they have opinions, there's nothing wrong with that, but in some instances maybe it's not best to be on a particular jury if they have that opinion. But my question to you is, can you set aside that opinion if you're selected to be on this jury and just listen to the evidence that's presented to you here in the courtroom to make up your mind? can you set that opinion that you already have formulated aside?
Yes,
Okay, you feel pretty confident about that?
yes,
Okay. And you mentioned that you understand what a presumption of innocence is. Do you, despite the opinion that you have, can you still at the same time afford Ms. Schenecker the presumption that she's innocent or innocent right now?
yes,
Okay, so you are setting aside your opinion then, in essence, to do that.
yes.
Are you comfortable with any of this? You're hesitating with some of your answers. I don't know if you're just thinking, about it, or are you comfortable with this?
You mean with this whole?
Yeah, the whole process, and actually the idea of setting aside an opinion that you have already.
Oh, well, setting aside an opinion, yes.
You are comfortable with that? Okay, and you feel like you can be fair and impartial as a juror in this case?
Yes,
So there's nothing that you saw or heard in the media or in a video that causes you to come here to the courthouse with a fixed impression of what should be the result?
other than what I've seen and heard,
Okay, and you're willing to set that aside?
yes.
Okay. I have no other questions, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step out. Panel members exit the courtroom.
No motion from the state.
No motion, Judge.
Number 72 indicates some knowledge. You can have a seat, sir. We're going to allow the attorneys to ask you a few questions, okay? We'd ask you to speak up in a strong voice.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. Sorry, good morning. That was the first test, right? Sir, you've indicated yesterday that you had some knowledge about this case from some other source before this case, before yesterday?
Yes, on television I saw the defendant being transported and she was shaking uncontrollably.
Okay.
I do remember that, but that's about it.
Was that something you saw recently, or was that something about the time of the incident in 2011?
I can't remember exactly. I don't think it was 2011. I think it was on a more recent news report, but that's all I can remember.
Do you recall any of the details of the report other than the image you saw?
No.
The judge read a summary or a statement about what the case in general terms is about yesterday. Do you recall that?
Yes.
As you sit there today, do you bring any knowledge of any other information or any other details about the case other than what Judge Battles told you yesterday?
No.
The image that you saw on the video, was that on TV or the internet?
It was on television.
Did you draw any conclusions or impressions or opinions about either Ms. Schenecker or her guilt or innocence as a result of seeing that image?
No.
Ms. Schenecker, of course, like any other person charged with a crime in this state, is presumed innocent. That means the starting point for the jury is she is innocent until the state of Florida proves her guilt by evidence in court beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. That's generally referred to as her presumption of innocence. Can you afford her or give to her her presumption of innocence the Constitution requires?
Yes, I can.
Have you formed any kind of fixed or definite opinion about her guilt or innocence?
No.
Okay. Can you promise us and assure us that you can return a verdict based solely on the evidence that you see and hear in court?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything about what you saw on TV that would prevent you from being a fair and impartial juror, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Questions, sir?
No question, Judge.
Thank you, sir. You may step out. Executive Court.
No motion.
Your worship, yes, Judge.
Number 73 indicates some knowledge of the case. Okay, sir, you can have a seat. We're going to allow the attorneys to ask you a few questions. I ask you to respond in a good, strong voice.
Okay.
Stay.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. Yesterday you indicated to us that you had learned some information or gained some details about this case from some source outside of court. Is that correct?
Yes,
And was that in just talking with folks or was that from the media?
from the media.
Was your exposure to that media recent or was it about the time of the offense, which would have been 2011?
At the time of the offense.
What was the source? TV, print media, internet?
Both newspaper and TV news. I read the newspaper every day.
Which paper, sir?
Tampa Bay Times.
Okay. Excuse me. Yesterday, Judge Battles read a summary or a statement concerning this case. Do you recall that?
Mm-hmm.
What I would like to know from you is, do you recall any details or any other information that you learned from the media that was not contained within what Judge Battles read to you? Any other details that you know about?
I don't know if the judge mentioned that the husband was in the service and was away from home at the time, as I recall, but no, essentially no. I didn't follow the story that closely, frankly.
Do you recall whether you saw any photographs or images, video or still photography of the defendant, Ms. Schenecker, in those reports?
Yes, I did.
Which was it still or video?
I think it was a video of when she was arrested. She was being led away, I think, by an officer.
Okay.
That was on TV news.
Did you draw any impressions or opinions or conclusions of guilt or innocence from what you saw?
Well, she seemed, frankly, deranged to me. She seemed out of her mind. That was just a gut impression I got from the film.
If you're selected as a juror, your responsibility and that of the jury as a whole would be to base a verdict solely and exclusively upon the evidence introduced in court and to that alone. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes.
Do you believe that you could do that?
Yes.
Have you formed any type of fixed or definite opinion about Ms. Schenecker's guilt or innocence as a result of what you saw on TV and what you read in the newspaper?
No.
Okay. Ms. Schenecker is presumed innocent like any other person charged in the state of Florida, and that presumption stays with her until and unless the state of Florida proves her guilt beyond a reasonable doubt in court through evidence. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Can you give or afford to Ms. Schenecker her presumption of innocence?
Yes, I can.
Do you have a starting point or opinion as to her guilt or innocence as we speak?
Well, again, it appears to me that she was emotionally very disturbed when she was arrested. The cause of that, I have no idea.
Would you think there's anything that you saw or learned from the media would prevent you from being a fair and impartial juror in this case?
No.
Thank you. No further questions.
Questions, sir?
No questions, Judge.
Thank you, sir. You may step out. He's actually in order.
No motion from the defense, Judge.
Nothing from the state.
Number 74 indicates knowledge of the case.
Okay, sir, we're going to allow the attorneys to ask you a few questions. I'd ask that you speak up when you respond with a strong voice.
Yes, sir.
State.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. Yesterday you indicated that you had learned something about this case from some source outside the court.
Yes, sir. I read multiple newspapers and watch the news. So, you know, what's been on there, that's what I've seen.
Okay.
I did not read Sundays.
Okay. So has your exposure to reporting about this case been continuous over the time whenever they reported it?
Whenever, you know, well, you know, I read 2 papers a day plus the news, so, you know, if it was there, I usually saw it.
Okay. Do you recall yesterday when Judge Battles read to you a summary of what the case was about?
Yes, sir.
I'd like you to tell us any other detail or any other information that you learned in your readings or broadcast viewing about the case, other than what Judge Battles told you.
Okay. I saw the video of the defendant in police custody where she was shaking. Let's see, the accounts, you know, the different accounts of what went on in the house. You know, the crime scene stuff that they talked about.
Okay, anything stick out in your mind about the accounts you've read?
Other than what the judge talked about yesterday, you know, where the boy was found shot in the car and the girl was found shot in her bedroom.
Okay. The law requires that the jury give the defendant a presumption of innocence.
Yes, sir.
Meaning the starting point for the jury and for each individual jury is she's innocent until and unless the state of Florida proves her guilt by evidence in court beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. Do you understand the concept?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything about what you read or saw on the media that would prevent you from giving the defendant her presumption of innocence?
No, sir.
Did you draw any conclusions or opinions or impressions when you saw that video about her being led out?
She was having a hard time.
Okay.
You know, it was a bad situation.
Did you draw any conclusions or impressions about what produced that bad time? Or what that was a result of?
I would have met the events at the house.
Okay.
She was there. So.
Have you formed any fixed or definite opinion as you sit there today about Ms. Schenecker's guilt or innocence in this case?
Like the law says, until you guys prove her guilty, she's innocent.
Okay. And you recognize and can follow that law?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And each one of us, when we see something on the news, we have an initial impression or opinion that may be fleeting or may stay with us. And you kind of followed this case along with everything else that's been in the news the last 3 years.
Yes, sir.
I recognize and appreciate your ability to follow along the presumption of innocence, but my question is specifically, as a result of reading what you've read and seeing what you've seen on the media, do you come here today with any type of fixed or definite opinion that Ms. Schenecker is guilty of the charges or innocent of the charges, or you have no such opinion?
She's in a bad situation. You guys have to prove her guilty, and what's been in the news hasn't been favorable to her.
Okay. And do you recognize and can you accept that the jury must make its determination based only what's presented in court?
Yes, sir.
And that if what's presented in court is in any way different than what you saw on the news,
yes, sir,
by either contradiction or omission, your verdict has to be confined and based on what you hear and see in court.
yes, sir.
Can you do that?
Yes, sir.
Can you hold the state of Florida to the state's burden of proving Ms. Schenecker's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Question, sir?
Morning, sir. I don't know if you were just trying to put it in different words or what. I want to make sure I understand. Do you, as we speak right now, have a fixed opinion as to the guilt or innocence of Ms. Schenecker?
She's accused of killing her kids, and whether she did or didn't, that's for the state to prove. And I understand that one thing I have, that one of the defenses you're going to use is by reason of insanity, and that would be she wasn't aware, didn't know what she was doing.
Is that information that you read in the paper or saw on the television?
Yes, sir.
Do you have, and again, I'll ask the question, maybe I wasn't being clear. Do you personally, right now, as we speak, have an opinion as to her guilt or innocence?
Yes, sir.
And what is that opinion?
Good possibility that she did what they accused her of.
Do you have the ability, do you think, to set aside your opinion and just listen to the evidence as the judge explained it yesterday?
Yes, sir.
So whatever opinion you have, it's not something you hold so strongly that you can't listen to the witnesses that offer testimony?
I can.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You may step out. Prospective jurors exited the courtroom.
No motion from the state.
Judge, I have no motion.
Okay, number 75 indicates some knowledge of the case. Yes, ma'am, they're going to ask you a few questions. Go ahead and have a seat. I'd ask you to speak up in a strong voice so we can hear you up here.
Good afternoon. Good morning, ma'am. Yesterday you told us that you had learned some information about this case from some outside source prior to coming into court. Is that correct? Okay. Yesterday, Judge Battles read a statement or summary about what this case was about. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Can you tell us, please, what the source of your information was?
On the news.
On the news? Was that TV news or internet news?
TV news.
TV news. Was that news that you saw recently or towards the time of the event, which was 2011?
In 2011.
Tell us what you recall seeing on the news.
I recall when they announced some lady killed 2 kids.
Do you recall any other details? Do you recall seeing any photographs or video that showed Ms. Schenecker?
Yes.
Tell me what you recall about that.
I recall when they 2 persons bring her someplace, I don't know, just I don't remember exactly.
And
It was on Schenecker.
what do you recall about her appearance at that time? What you
Just saw her in the news.
do you recall anything about how she was acting or any mannerisms?
No.
Did you form any impression or opinion about Ms. Schenecker or about the crime when you saw that broadcast which contained an image of her?
Yes.
What did you conclude?
Well, I just thought, how can a mom kill the kids?
Okay. In Florida and in our entire country, a person that's accused of a crime is presumed innocent. That means that for the jury, the starting point is that the defendant is innocent, regardless of what the news has said, and that presumption of innocence stays with the defendant throughout the entire trial unless and until it's overcome by the state of Florida in producing evidence that proves the defendant's guilt beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yes.
Can you, despite what you saw on the news and your initial impression or reaction, can you presume this defendant innocent of the charges that have been made against her?
Yes.
Okay. Can you promise us that you will base your verdict solely on what evidence you hear in court and set aside whatever you saw 3 years ago on TV? In the media that you think will prevent you from being a fair and impartial juror?
Not really.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, there may have to be additional questions.
Okay.
Good morning. So if I understood you correctly, you said that the opinion that you did develop from all that you could see or hear is how could a mother do that to their children?
Yes.
Is that an opinion that you still hold strongly to even as we speak this morning?
Well, that was the opinion at that time.
Oh,
If I don't know that she's guilty, how can I think about this? At that time, I thought that she was guilty because I said, how can mom do that to the kids? Because I saw that on TV. That's what they showed me on TV.
so does that opinion that you had, does that lead you to think that she is guilty?
Not really.
Not really?
I have to see the evidence because I really didn't see her doing it.
Are you in a position today where you feel strongly that you can set aside your earlier feelings about a mother and her children in order just to listen to the evidence in this case?
Yes.
So you don't have an opinion as to guilt or innocence as we speak right now?
Well, at that moment I had the opinion, but I had to see the evidence to make sure that she really committed the crime.
Well, it's okay if you have the opinion. We'd just like to know. I mean, do you have an opinion that Ms. Schenecker is guilty as we speak right now?
I can't say that she's guilty because I didn't see her do it.
Okay. Can you look at her and understand the idea that she's innocent until somebody proves something different? Is she innocent in your eyes right now as we speak?
She's not innocent, she's not guilty at this time because I see the evidence in order to say that she's innocent.
You need to see the evidence in order to say that she's guilty.
Well, I need to see her doing it. You know, if I was at that moment with her, or saw her killing her kid, I would tell you, yes, she's guilty. But if I didn't see her, how can I say she's guilty?
Okay. The law presumes upon somebody that they're innocent at the beginning of any proceeding like this. I mean, right now, you haven't heard any evidence. So are you able to afford Ms. Schenecker that presumption that she's innocent right now? She's innocent.
Right now, yes.
Right now, yes?
Okay. She's innocent because I didn't see her doing it.
Okay. You learned some details from the news back in 2011. Can you tell us exactly what it is that you learned about this case that gave you the basis for your earlier opinion?
I learned that she killed the babies, the girls, her kids, because they did not listen to her. They were not listening to her. That's what I thought at that time.
Did you learn anything else about this incident?
That her husband is a military.
Excuse me?
Her husband was away.
Husband was away? How about anything else? Did you learn any other details from the news shows that you watched?
That's it.
Did you ever see video? I think you may have mentioned whether you saw video of Ms. Schenecker. Did you ever see a video of her?
I saw a video of her when she's coming with two persons holding her.
Did that video cause you to develop any kind of an impression or opinion at that time?
Well, she appears to be sick.
Any other opinion that it caused you to develop?
No.
Okay. Have you followed the case as it went along through newspaper articles or through the news since 2011?
No, not really.
Okay. Have you engaged in conversation with other people, maybe friends or relatives, in which you shared with them your opinions?
Maybe.
Did you have strong opinions at that time that you couldn't understand how a mother could do this to their children? Did you share those opinions with other people?
Well, I think so.
Okay.
Well, at the time of the news, people talk about it.
When's the last time you actually engaged in a conversation about this case? Do you remember? It's been a while? Okay. Do you feel that you can be fair and impartial in this case as a juror? Do you feel like you decide your previous opinions and see what happens?
Maybe, yes.
Maybe?
Yes. Well, I really don't know. I have to see the evidence. I have to be in the jury to see how I'm going to react after I see the evidence.
Okay. Well, I know you haven't seen the evidence, and so I know this is a hard question, but are you able to set aside whatever it is that you thought you knew or that you do know or that you imagine that you know or anything that's you've been exposed to, set all that aside and just pay attention to the evidence? Or are you able to put all that aside prior to the case going in front of you if you're selected to be on the jury?
Yes.
You feel comfortable with that? Okay. You're not hoping or guessing? You feel sure you can?
I'm sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step out. She's exited the court.
No motion by the state.
Judge, in abundance of caution, do move that we strike jury number 75 for cause, and the entire reason for it is the equivocal nature of her responses. She vacillated back and forth that she felt she could dismiss previously held opinions or impressions. And at one point she said she could give a presumption of innocence. At another point she said she couldn't. I didn't feel clear in any response that she made, either Mr. Pruner or me. I didn't feel confident that she could be impartial. She didn't express them. Maybe it was language, the words she was using. But I've never got a strong feeling of confidence about her as a juror.
Anything at all, Mr. Schenecker?
Yes, Judge, I don't recall her saying once that she could not afford further presumption of innocence.
Well, the equivocal nature that the counsel referred to was complete. It caused the court to pause. I have reason to doubt whether she can be fairly impartial based upon that exposure to the pretrial publicity. Of course, the defense motion is granted. Number 75 is excused for cause. The motion to dismiss. Number 76 indicates hardship and knowledge. Okay, so we're going to allow the attorneys to ask you a few questions. I ask you to respond in strong voice. State.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yesterday you indicated that service on this jury for 3 weeks would present a hardship. Could you explain, please?
Well, at the time, it was a hardship until I talked to my employer. I think he said it'd be fine. They'd pay me the whole week if I did get on the jury.
Okay, and including we're going to be selecting a jury for however many days it takes this week, and then we anticipate the actual trial itself being roughly 2 additional weeks.
Right. Yeah, they told me that, however long it takes.
Oh, good. Good. So your hardship has been resolved?
Well, actually, I've actually have 2 hardships.
Oh, tell me about the other one.
The first one was time, and the second was back in September of 2011, my mother-in-law was viciously murdered. And so, we're still trying to go through all that, and, if I go through this, it's just going to kind of bring up all these emotions.
I'm sorry to hear about your mother-in-law, was it?
Yes.
Okay. Can you, what was that in Hillsborough County?
No, sir, it was in Polk County.
But locally?
Yes.
Relatively?
Mulberry.
Yeah, okay. Tell us how you think that, I know, Brad, you in a vacuum, because you've gone through this as far as the trial portion, obviously. And I can assume certain things, but I need to ask you, so forgive me for asking, but how do you think service on this jury, knowing we're talking about murder charges, might affect your ability to serve as a juror?
Pretty hard. I mean, especially being that this one didn't go through trial. It was, he got a plea deal, and we don't feel that it was just.
Okay.
So, I'm just...
I understand. Ms. Schenecker, like any other defendant, is presumed innocent under our Constitution. That means that the starting point of the jury must be that she is innocent, and that only until the state of Florida, if it does, prove beyond a reasonable doubt her guilt by the presentation of evidence in court, until that time, the jury must presume that this defendant is innocent. Do you understand that, sir? Yes, sir. Can you give her the presumption of innocence despite the tragic experience your family has suffered?
That's a hard question. I mean, with what we've been through, it's hard. Okay. It's hard to keep a clear head and say, okay, I got to be biased when something so tragic happened to my family.
Yes, sir. Let me move to a little bit different subject, sir. You've indicated that you learned some information about this case from an outside source before coming into court. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was that the news?
Newspaper, down at work when it happened, we were all talking about it.
Okay. As a result of what you've seen in the news or read in the paper, have you formed a fixed and definite opinion about Ms. Schenecker's guilt or innocence?
From me being a parent, a parental view, yes, I have.
And what is that opinion, sir?
Guilty.
Is that something that you would be unable to set aside in this case?
Probably.
Okay.
Being, I've got children,
Yes,
and I can't phantom a parent wanting to do that to their child.
Yes, sir.
So
Okay.
I'm pretty set on.
All right. Thank you, sir. Nothing further.
Any questions?
No question, Judge.
Thank you, sir. You can step out. Prospective jurors exited the court.
Judge, for a variety of reasons, straight jury order 76 for cause.
No objection. Without objection, 76 is struck for cause. Number 77 indicates knowledge of the case. Okay, sir, we're going to allow them to ask you a few questions. You go ahead and have a seat and ask that you respond in a strong voice so we can hear you up here at the stage.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Yesterday you indicated to us that you had learned some information about this case from some outside source. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you recall yesterday Judge Battles reading a summary about this case?
That's correct.
Okay. What I would like to know from you, sir, is whether that outside source was just people talking or was it the media?
Both.
Okay. And was your exposure to that recently, or was that near the time of the offense in 2011?
Both.
Okay. Tell me what information you've learned, whether it be correct or not, or what was reported about this case that was different or in addition to what Judge Battles read the other day.
Well, I work at CENTCOM, so I have first-hand knowledge.
Oh, you do? Okay.
And I also read the emails from the newspaper.
All right. Did you learn any other information about the actual incident itself?
Just what I read in the paper and from what rumors around work.
And what can you tell us about all that?
The events, what happened, who committed the crime, and then again with reading the emails, I read the chain. They had posted the emails on the newspaper back and forth, so I was able to read all those. I did read all those.
Okay.
As far as the intent, etc.
All right. And have you formed any fixed or definite opinion as to the defendant's guilt as a result of everything you've heard and read up to today's date?
Yes.
And what is that, sir?
Guilty.
Is that an opinion that you could not set aside to afford Ms. Schenecker's presumption of innocence?
No.
Okay. And I take it from that that would be one that would influence, is that correct?
That's correct.
No question, Judge.
Thank you, sir. Can I step out?
Yep.
He's exited the court.
Would you strike 77 for cause, Judge?
No objection. Without objection, 77 is struck for cause. 78 indicates some knowledge of the case. You can have a seat, ma'am. They're going to ask you a few questions. Ask that you speak up in a strong voice, okay?
Yes, sir.
You may mark.
Thank you. Good morning, ma'am. You have indicated yesterday that you had some information or knowledge that you had heard or learned about this case from some source before you came into court yesterday. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was that information that you learned closer to the time of the offense in 2011 or more recently or both?
Both.
Okay. What was the source of your information?
Back then it was the news.
TV
Word
or?
of mouth. TV.
Okay. And more recently?
A text. And I happened to look up the last name.
Look at, how do you mean look up the last name?
Someone texted me the last name of the trial, and I looked it up, and
Okay.
so it was her.
All right. Did you do any search about information?
After that, no.
Okay. When did you do the search?
Oh, I was sitting in front of room 201.
Okay. Was that before you went into jury services?
No. That was, before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before they took you into the room and then gave you the instruction and all that?
Yes.
Okay. Have you done any search since you
No, sir.
were instructed?
No.
Okay. I see you have pretty neat handwriting. You actually...
I typed it because I hate my handwriting.
Okay. All right. That has nothing to do with my questioning, but if you could tell me, please, everything that you remember learning about this case from the media.
Just the basics.
Okay.
The woman, killed her children. That was it.
Okay. Any further details?
No.
Okay, ma'am. Did you see any images, still photographs or video images of the defendant, Ms. Schenecker, in any of these reports?
I can just still picture her shaking.
Okay. Did that leave any type of impression on you about her guilt or innocence or her state of mind or anything like that?
She just looked very afraid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Schenecker, as she sits here today, like any defendant charged in a criminal case in Florida or our entire country, is presumed innocent. That means that's the starting point for the jury. She's innocent, and that presumption stays with her until and unless the state of Florida, by evidence and testimony in court, proves her guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Can you give or afford to Ms. Schenecker her presumption of innocence that the Constitution requires?
Absolutely.
Is there anything about what you saw in the media that would prevent you from being a fair and impartial juror? Did you have any impression or opinion as to whether Ms. Schenecker was guilty or innocent from the media you saw?
Of course, they just made her out to look like she is.
Look like she is what?
Guilty.
Okay. Is that impression something that you're not going to be able to set aside? Because remember, the starting point has to be she's presumed innocent. And it's human nature for us to draw our opinions from what we see on TV. We do it every day.
Of course, yes. Yeah, they did it to my sister. I totally understand.
Okay. So I guess what I'm asking is, and because you know yourself better than anybody else in here, are you personally capable of setting aside that initial opinion or impression
Yes, I could.
and hold the state of Florida to proof beyond a reasonable doubt? I can see you, but we have to, this lady has to type up everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I forgot about that.
Yes.
The nothing.
Okay. And along those lines is, even though you had that initial impression or opinion, can you set it aside and give Ms. Schenecker that starting point of presuming her innocent?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
Questions, sir?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good noon.
Yeah.
In any event, let me ask you this. You mentioned that the media kind of made her appear to be guilty. Is that, I'm not sure if I understood you to say that that was the impression you got from the media's presentation, or if that was an opinion that you developed on your own. Did you develop an opinion as to guilt or innocence, or are you still uncertain about that?
Well, but back then, yeah, it was an impression.
Okay. Is that one that you held close to you, close to yourself, a strong impression, or is that one that you can set aside so that way you can listen to the evidence here in the courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You wouldn't have any philosophical issues with doing that? You wouldn't feel like you weren't being true to yourself or anything?
No.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step out. She's exited the courtroom.
No motion.
No motion, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Oh, we have counsel step up to answer. Nope, I believe because the time had been appointed yesterday at 1 o'clock, we'll need to be prepared because the additional 50, to go to the judicial conference room, additional 50 prospective jurors will have to be comfortably seated in there. We're going to go ahead and take a lunch break now and advise the initial 100, those remaining from the initial 100 that are present in the lobby now to be back at 1:15. 1:15. And with that, we'll go ahead and be adjourned for the lunch hour.